So we were currently live on this, of which we just liquidated the positions, and well, all the thought process is based on that. Well, although this does meet all the criteria that we want to execute a trade, the 1, 2, 3 drive over there into this kind of like hook point inflection point. Although we didn't get the break above and back below, given the time frame is an exception, right? So talking about the time frame again, going back to it, the higher the time frame, the more weight it carries, of which we are on a lower time frame. So this carries less weight to possibly move price all the way to down here, because this is actually the next value area, aka inflection point, where we might look to exit positions if we're ever to sell anywhere here. So now we are also looking at also the fact that this also can't be large enough to accommodate the impulse. Okay, this can be large enough to accommodate this impulse, right? But if it happens to come back and give us a 1, 2, 3 touch, I would preferably, well, be less, strict with my management, be a little bit lenient instead of showing the aggression that I just did right now, right? So even though, oh fuck, I have to like improve my pen skills, but drawing it properly with something that I'm familiar with, we can just, well, simply hide all of this. We do not want to delete it. So we can bring it back on the chart. So looking at it from this perspective, it could be a high possibility that we are going to do something like this over here to come give us an even much more kind of like a confirmed trade. We might even like backtest the back end of this value area over here, inflection point, and we actually go off, or well, this is where we're actually gonna position our stops above. Then maybe we can get some sort of like a 5 minute or even 15-minute entry. And here at this point, it would have became an insurance entry, a much more confirmed entry where you would have less doubts. Well, I'm talking within my frame of reference. I'm talking to myself basically. Then you can open all the gates to go down there potentially, where you might develop larger corrections within the run to all the way down, and you might be managing it properly as you move, right? So, yes, this is why I am deciding to liquidate this position. Where if I could have held it slightly a bit, I don't know, to where somewhere here or there, I could have squeezed myself within the top 100 on the funded next monthly competition for this month. But at the same time, you wouldn't want to risk, just, I can't say elimination because there's no possible way I could get eliminated, or even the lotto draw, because the lotto draw is actually randomized. It's not balance based. It doesn't care about your position. It's just about you being within the range. So I just pushed myself a little bit higher, randomizing my chances of or getting picked. I was 223 earlier in the morning before execution. Now I'm ranking 187. So yeah, this is what I mean, that we might practice the back end of this, or which is more of like the completion of this A to B move that you would have tried taking advantage of. Slightly we have a gap there, so we might start seeing larger continuations form to actually start accommodating the actual move. So let's see how that goes, and we'll come back and review the thought process that we just did now, because that's actually the main objective of this. It's not necessarily to review the value areas, the analyzing or whatsoever, or the entries. It's just about the thought process behind why we are taking some decisions that we're making now. Shout out. Well, now touching on to US30, a highly correlated pair to NAS and also S&P 500. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time, call it 90 or 80%. So we're basically both live on these positions, based on that reason. Also, besides the technicals that we're about to discuss now. And yep, right. So you can see this was the entry over there on the full retrace of the previous candle, tapping into that previously triggered area over there. And first potential take profits would be here for slightly 2%. And if it happens, would let the floodgates open for like a high potential return. So now, again, based on the same logical reasoning that we had on Nasdaq, that this might likely not have enough weight to actually break, right? It can get here, but as for it going all the way down to possibly touching another value area, slightly not likely. And on the other side, we can clean up everything now because this was actually more of an expanding before we came to actually just accept this as the area where we had that over there, right, which is where we actually tapped into. Just that we slightly didn't take above and take below, but given the time frame, it's an exception. So we had this over here as our first touch. Was this our second? Okay, this was the second touch over here. Maybe before it could have been, but at this time I wasn't actually live to possibly try and maybe get a break even from here, or maybe slide 1% given the same psychological reasoning that we still need to develop more. So it was this where we had anticipated a potential one, two, and a third touch there, which would have actually accommodated that breakout above of a value area and break back below before we actually get that much more confirmed move. So, and this was also here, over here, positioned exactly there, just to have it exactly as an expanding, because that was the concept behind it, so you can actually see it. Because these can break either ways, okay? Because given the area where we are, we could have also potentially went up, because looking at it from this perspective where we have this impulse correction impulse, this can be some sort of a volume built area where we could have also, well, we had this before earlier on in the day, uh, where this is sort of like a near miss, like a weak fall that we have to fill first before we go to the upside. So we are actually interested in seeing what happens when we get here. So hence the what you call the expanding was more sort of like logical to play with here, where you can either break up or below, where we can treat into this sort of inflection point here if we're selling, or open the floodgates all the way down to here, or move all the way back up into this sort of like value area before we get the move. So going back to the 1 hour and diving down back all down to the 15 minutes, we are actually gonna try and justify the same reasons that we had on NES, that we still need a slight more development before we can see anything fruitful in terms of moving. This can be broken at any time, so or maybe yeah, let's see actually. Let's just analyze it and hide the previous lines that we had, where you can see that this is the sort of like range that we are playing right now, and you can have the peak of the range is that, and we sort of can't really do this yet because it's not really confirmed. It can stretch out, can have different angles to it. So now diving down to the 15, I'm avoiding going up there and actually clicking it instead. I'm just gonna type it on my keyboard, because when you're recording with TradingView, if you dare resize your window, whatever you were doing is over. You have to restart. So, but nonetheless, there it is, where it will also make sense in terms of sequencing, looking at it from just this perspective, where we have a smaller correction followed by a larger correction to actually, have more volume to move all the way down. So, yeah, man, I think all we can do is just mark the levels. We also left the position somewhere slightly here where we are playing now, just like a few minutes ago. And yeah, we'll see if we slightly get a much more mature development, slightly trustable, I can say. Uh, then yeah, maybe we might even get a smaller 15 or 5 minute play there to give us a much more confirmed entry and insurance entry, and find our way down. So I'm not. Should I leave it? Yeah, let's leave it for now, just to sort of like keep yourself in the range of mind. Then yeah, potential back test, not slightly too far. And yeah, this might then have enough volume to come here, and maybe we then actually start developing a larger structure, possibly maybe a V formation coming back into a volume belt area, which is this, and we actually get a bigger run. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.